Hey everybody, we're gonna hopefully be going live in a few minutes. We're checking things out. I want to know from comments, can everybody hear us right now? Let us know. I'm gonna check some things real quick and we'll get started in about 30 seconds. Hopefully we're on live. Somebody give me a thumbs up or at least a hello. Let us know that you can hear us and see us, please. Well, I'm checking this. Okay. Aaron, can you hear us? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear us. I'm trying to check this thing out from the computer here. Okay. Post.
Okay.
We'll get started in a second. Then, welcome everybody. Yes, we are here, but can you hear us? We need to know, can you hear us, people?
Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. Can you hear us?
Tell me I'm looking on the computer, see if I can get some feedback.
I don't. No one is commenting whether they can hear us.
I know. Can someone just do us a quick favor?
We can hear you.
Oh, thank you,
perfect.
RV. You can hear us.
Fantastic.
Well, I guess we should want to get started or give everyone a couple more minutes to jump on. We got 14 people on. Hi, Christy. Lori, how you doing? Thanks for joining us today. So, Teresa,
hi, Teresa.
How you doing, Teresa? We're doing well. So, should we just go ahead and get started?
Yeah,
okay.
Why not?
We don't have that much time. First of all, I want to thank Go RVing for allowing us on this Black History Month to take over their Facebook Live and share with you all some of our experiences RVing, discovering Black history, telling you about some of the memories we've created and some of our favorite trips. And most importantly, why each and every one of you should add a Black history site to your RV travels. It has been so rewarding and so enlightening. But first, let's introduce ourselves. I am Keith.
I'm Tia.
And we are Soulful RV Family. Yeah. We are a family of two of us plus our three, I don't want to say little boys anymore, because they are certainly growing so fast. We began RVing about 7 years ago at her insistence.
You're welcome.
Because she wanted to enhance our homeschooling and really bring to life what she was teaching our boys. And one subject in particular that really is not prominently displayed in schools, and that's Black history. So in our travels, we have decided over the last 7 years to always incorporate history, but in particular, Black history. And we've been to some amazing museums and I had amazing experiences, and that's what we're here to share with you guys today. So, I asked this one the question about her favorite experience, and I know it's so tough to break down. I mean, I was struggling with trying to figure out of all the places we've been and all the places we want to go, what was our favorite experience so far? So we're just going to share a bunch of them with you. So, honey, I'll let you start if that's okay. Why don't you share one of your favorite Black history experiences that we had in the RV?
Right. So I think for me, one of my favorites is one that we could enjoy with the entire family. Because a lot of the history, it could be a little heavy. Let's be honest. It can be a little heavy when we're dealing with Black history in this country. So I love going to DC and going to the Smithsonian Black History Museum, because that is something that, yes, we're able to delve into the history and get some of the more unpleasant information for our kids, but also there's more uplifting information there as well, celebrating a lot of the ingenuity and a lot of the talent and just greatness that we brought to the country. So I think that's one of my favorites for the entire family to enjoy, where we're not, just so heavy into the unpleasantness.
Yeah, and she loves DC completely. I mean, she could go to DC all the time. And as you know, if you had an opportunity to visit our nation's capital, there are so many fantastic museums to go and see. But that African American Museum of Smithsonian up there was truly breathtaking for us. I mean, it was four or five different levels.
We never got through the whole thing.
No, you can start in the basement and work your way up through time up there. And it is pretty heavy of an experience, but it is absolutely a must visit Smithsonian to check out if you're in the DC area. as like we do, we incorporate DC once or twice every other year into our trips. So if you don't get it the first time you go to DC, definitely make it the second or third time you go there. It's well worth your time.
Right, and I love to eat. They've got a great little food court type of space there where you can get a lot of some cultural food from every part of the country, because everything is a little different, you know, when you go to the north and the south and out west. So love to eat.
And one of our favorite, when we go to DC, one of our favorite places to stay, or really our go-to place to stay, is the Cherry Hill RV Park, because it is so close to DC. There's literally a train station like a mile and a half from the campground, and they actually provide transportation. So when you think about urban camping or camping near cities, this is a great opportunity, a great location to stay at while you're there. And we'll try to share those things, because I know that can be kind of daunting about if I want to go to a city and visit, where can I stay and those kind of things. And we'll just share where we've stayed. So DC, African American Smithsonian Museum, absolute favorite. Another tip while you're there is please go check out the MLK Monument while you're there. That is a breathtaking sculpture. It really, it just meant so much to us to have those two sites there when we visited it. So, so that being one of your favorites.
Share one of yours.
It's so hard, because for us, I think, as homeschoolers, and this one is a true history buff. I lean towards science, but I do enjoy history as well. And our boys do the same. They love science and history. But we've had the opportunity, particularly with kids or even grandkids, to see these things and study these things and learn these things firsthand for the first time with our kids. And I think that experience for us doing as a family together has really cemented it. I mean, it's made the memory so, I'm almost speechless. It brings it back with so much more emotion, because when you're sharing it with your family, it's
not just sharing it, but we're learning it alongside with them, because a lot of the information that we're gathering right now and that we've gathered in the past 5 or 6 years is not stuff that we learned in school. So we're learning along with them, and that's one of the hardest things it is to admit to my kids is, I don't know, I'm learning it with you. So it's been fun.
So when I think about it, I go back to that emotion of the trip, and I think for me, the most emotional and memorable trip for us was when we went, and it's a twofold trip. It was two for the price of one. It's when we went to visit Selma, Alabama. We did Selma, Alabama, and we did Montgomery. It's about 52 miles apart. So we had an opportunity to hit both in the same trip. We stayed at a campground in Montgomery right there. And for those of you who have seen the movie Selma, or if you haven't, Selma, Montgomery is mostly known for the march from Martin Luther King over the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and what happened when they were beaten and tear gassed, and what was known as Bloody Sunday. And for us, we had an opportunity, I think it was the 52nd anniversary of that, because every year they have a Jubilee and do a bridge crossing event. And I actually did a Facebook Live when we walked across that bridge, so you can go back and check out.
Oh, the kids were young. I was carrying Justin at the time.
You can check out my Facebook page for that video if you want to check that out. But we walked across the bridge. It must have been 50,000 other people led by Jesse Jackson leading us across the bridge. And it's a short crossing, but the emotions and trying to put yourself back in time and experiencing those things was incredible. And the museum, there's a National Museum on the other side of the bridge. That's okay. And learning the history of what went down there was truly, truly breathtaking for me in that trip. And the emotion of doing that and holding the hands of my children and our nephew along the way was really spectacular. But that was only one part of that trip. And that was what was so cool about the trip. And if you've done any history, especially civil rights history stuff, you'll know Alabama, the state of Alabama, has so many different sites you can go see. So doing Selma and then coming over to Montgomery was another one that I shake when I think back to that, because we did a tour of the Capitol of Alabama, Montgomery, the Capitol building. And our tour guide actually had marched with Martin Luther King on Bloody Sunday. And that
so
was
much good information to share.
To hear it firsthand from him. I mean, you can read things in a history book, And I think that's why we homeschool and we road school and we utilize RVs for this, is because we can take these words and these pictures that our children see and that we see, that you've studied in school, and we can bring it to life. And it just means so much more. So starting off in Selma and then going to Montgomery and learning about the Capitol, learning about the history there that's one of those moments that I bring back, and I can almost feel the emotion again. And I think that's the beauty of RV. That's one of the things that drew us into RVing, was we could bring not only our education and learning to life, but the experiences that we have with our children when we travel. It's something that just stays with us each and every way. So I'm going to ball those two together and say the Selma, Alabama and the Montgomery trip, those two were probably, that one trip was probably my most memorable trip.
I think as well, we've been doing this for a while and bringing them on these journeys with us to these museums. And I know when we started off doing it, they were very young and not really understanding everything that they were seeing. And I know, like with our middle child, he's very emotional. So a lot of the things that we've learned along the way, it's been upsetting. And I think that's what Mikey was saying. I was reading one of the comments. Even though it's tough, they still need to know this information. And so when we went to Arkansas, and we were really there for a
karate tournament.
With
our kids.
All of our kids that participated in karate. And we went to the high school that the Little Rock Nine had gone to.
Central High School.
And that really touched home for me, because I'm like, okay, high school students that were...
Are you assuming they know who the Little Rock Nine is?
Oh, okay.
Little Rock Nine, the first integrated school in Arkansas, and it was one of the last, actually. It was very interesting to learn that history, and the funny part is when we did the tour, not the funny part, but the ironic part, when we did that tour, one of the cousins or relatives of the Little Rock Nine, one of the girls, was actually on the same tour as we were to tour the high school.
So it was good to get her perspective, as well as our tour guide while we were actually doing that. We've had some pretty interesting experiences being on some of these tours, where there have actually been people who have personally been involved in that particular era. But just going into the school, and the school is actually still a working school to this day, it was just really, it was so powerful for my kids to say, hey, it wasn't just the adults that were going through this. The children were very instrumental in the fight and the struggle for civil rights. And I know we all say civil rights, but a lot of times it's human rights,
Absolutely.
Just to have equality.
And one of the things that I want to share with you is why you should do this, why you should go to a Black history site, African American history site, is we don't take all our trips and say that's where we're going. A lot of times we will have that as one of those destinations. But there are times, and I'll tell you two real quick, where we were on a different trip. You mentioned Little Rock. We were going there for a national karate tournament. And any trip we take, our kids love science museums. So we went to the Little Rock Science Museum, of course. And then we said, hey, there's an African American museum here, so let's check it out. When we plan these trips, because these museums tend to be very heavy, on your heart, when you look at the history, anybody who has a heart will be affected by it. I don't mean that lightly, but we plan something positive and uplifting and fun for our kids. And I don't remember who asked in the comments to bring the kids on camera. Unfortunately, they're finishing up their homeschool right now. Geometry is kicking KJ's butt. He's not used to that, but he's doing well, or else we would share that with you guys. But there's ways to do it. You can, wherever you're going to, you can just pull out the map and see, is there a museum you want to see, an African American museum that you want to stop by, and incorporate it within your trip. It doesn't have to be the sole destination. We happened to be in Philadelphia one time. We had been to Ben Franklin Museum, what was the Touch Museum we went to. We had done, the kids were little, we had done Sesame Street while we were there, and it was going to be a rainy day. So I just opened up the Groupon app, and I'm like, where can we go cheaply? I came across an Underground Railroad Museum in Philadelphia. Who would have
You never know what you're going to find.
That would have been there, and it was cheap to go visit. Now, it was supposed to be a self-guided tour. I don't remember that. When we got there, we were one of the only people there that day, and they guided us around, and they were like, do you have any questions? So we actually got a personal tour of the museum, and it was really, it was just it was to me, it was just so interesting to see what was going on and how they were helping, and how Philadelphia was a piece of the Underground
Railroad. Yeah. That was awesome. That was awesome. Oh my goodness.
Sorry about our Alexis going off. If the kids are making these. He's got a high school class. So
reminder of a class.
So what's next?
Oh.
What else? What's another memorable trip for you, honey?
Oh, you put me on the spot here.
I did.
Why
don't you stay in our own backyard? Because right now we have a home base in Atlanta, and Atlanta, the state of Georgia, has a
how can we forget about Atlanta?
Places to go and see. I know every RVer goes to Atlanta and complains about the traffic. So next time you're coming to Atlanta, stop by and check out the MLK Historic Site.
The traffic is still going to be there, but
it'll give you a place to stop off and rest for a while.
Right.
Just pull in there and check it out.
We still haven't done everything in Atlanta, and this is our home base. Mm-hmm. So the museum there is amazing, and we still haven't gotten to the birth home of
Martin Luther King. We've done the Martin Luther King Museum.
Yes.
And we've done
the Apex Museum.
Apex Museum, which was small,
but
heavy. Definitely worthwhile. You're checking out. I think the two exhibits I remember was the box. That was there, wasn't it? John Brown's box.
Yes.
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 And the carving of the slaves in the slave ship and the quarters in the space.
Life size.
That
was something else. Yeah. But also it was the doorway of no
return. Oh yes, the doorway of no return.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there are a lot of places that, we haven't even touched the surface of it. There are a lot of places across the country that there is a rich history of African American and even Caribbean American. It's such a rich history in this country. And no matter where you go, no matter what state that you're in, you should be able to find something along the way that you can stop at and just learn a little something.
And Atlanta's a great place. If you need a place to stay close by, Stone Mountain, outstanding campground. It's probably about 25 minutes outside.
Controversial.
It's a whole nother discussion, but you can do history there, Confederate history there. But it's a beautiful state-run campground, full hookups, pool, and they have the park there, which is fantastic. So if you're coming to Atlanta, it's a great place for a home base where you can play, you can go to the museums, you can go in the city and do all those things, but still have a place to come back to, relax, kind of decompress.
And challenge the history at their museum.
Yeah, that's true. now let's stay in Atlanta.
Okay.
And we talked about the Martin Luther King National Monument.
Right.
But there's another center. It's the Center for Civil Rights and Human Rights Center.
Yes.
Which to me is a perfect, spend a day or two at, because
you're right next to the Coca-Cola
and
museum,
the aquarium.
And the aquarium.
So you talk about doing something heavy and then doing something
balance
fun.
It out.
You can definitely balance it out there. And that center was another one where you go back in history, you go back to the 30s and 40s and 50s, and you see the signs, the white-only signs. And I can remember vividly from going to that museum. I don't remember if it was Jason or Justin or even KJ who said, "Mom, Dad, why did the white people hate us back then?"
That's hard.
Talk about breaking you down inside. And we don't teach our kids hate. No. We teach them love. Yeah. We teach them to understand their history of where we came from. And it wasn't just slavery. A whole other discussion. Black culture started well before slavery.
Absolutely.
Okay? But we teach them of what we've overcome and how far we still have to go.
Yeah.
And that was one of those moments as a parent that breaks you down and makes you want to embrace your kids. But that's something we shared together, and I'm glad we were able to do it with our kids, to share that moment with our kids and educate ourselves on it. Because there's so many things about this civil rights struggle that we're learning firsthand, that we're learning from going to these places. And we've all heard of Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, and we've been to Rosa Parks Museum, and we've talked about Martin Luther King already, but there were so many others.
Yeah. Besides the ones they teach you in parochial school,
who gave their lives for us all to be on equal footing.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for all of us to understand where we are today in 2022 and how we can get better as a country. And I still think this is the greatest country in the world that we can live in right now. We're blessed to be here. But it's not perfect. It never has been, and it may never be perfect. But we have to continue to strive to get better. And I think that's one of the things that, as far as RVing is concerned, when we got in 7 years ago, we were concerned. We didn't see very many black people, just to be honest with you. And that's why we kind of started our social media. And now we see more. Still not a ton, but now we see more. But we wanted to be an encouragement. And the community, the RV community, has been so welcoming to us and our kids, so encouraging to us and our kids. And it's been a blessing. And that's why we want to continue to do this, to educate people, not only things we do, but hey, the entire lifestyle. It's great. I didn't mean to get off the lifestyle thing, but let's go back to Black History Month, and let's go back to some of the other sites that you may want to check out and see. Is there?
Yeah. I think that a lot of the sites that we've gone to and visited, they have been heavy, and in the future, especially this year, we've gone through enough. Let's face it, we've gone through enough the past 2 years. I think in the future, I want to really try to find more places that celebrate how the richness of the African American culture and just the Black culture in general throughout the entire diaspora, how much that has infused just diversity and things into this country. So I think I would like to take the kids, especially as they're getting older, to visit some of the HBCUs in this country and just kind of...
What's an HBCU? In case you didn't know what an HBCU...
Historically Black colleges and universities.
And there's 107 of them around in this country right now. My parents and my brother are both graduates of HBCUs.
Yes.
So we definitely want to do that.
My niece just graduated from one. Gosh, who else? Yeah, our nephew graduated from one a few years ago. So I definitely want to expose the kids to that. You know, make sure that they know that that's an option for them.
Without a doubt. And with the, you guys like my former teammate Deion Sanders now going back to an HBCU and coaching Jackson State. We'd like to go out and take them to an HBCU football game, experience the Battle of the Bands.
Oh, that'd be exciting.
Black history is not just about the civil rights struggle. It's about all that we as African American people have contributed to this country. And yes, slavery and Jim Crow and all that, huge history, huge part of it that we're still trying to overcome to this day. But there's been so many positive influences. A perfect example is we were in Kansas City on a trip, and we didn't realize it when we were there. This is another one of those trips where you just check out what's in the area like everybody does once you get there. And we found the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. And we're like, hey, we gotta go. I'm not a huge baseball fan. Obviously, football comes
first. My dad was, though.
But her dad was. And we took them to this museum, and it was really cool to check out. So if you're in Kansas City, I forgot the name of the barbecue place we went to, but we stayed at Worlds of Fun while we were in Kansas City, which is an amusement park and is an RV park in the parking lot. So if you're in Kansas City looking for a place to stay, it's a great place to stay.
We barely got out of there. The kids loved it.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So once again, we found a way to mix maybe something heavy with definitely something fun. We went to a great barbecue, Kansas City barbecue. You got to be there. You got to have some.
That's right.
And then right next door to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum was the Jazz Museum.
I forgot about that.
Which was pretty cool to go there and experience the history of jazz and listen to music. And that was like a 2 for 1.
Kids even enjoyed that. They actually started to enjoy jazz. Appreciate it. I don't know if I should say enjoyed it, but they appreciate it.
They appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it.
Yeah.
And even though we've been to a lot of places, there are so many more. I know you were mentioning HBCUs. We're planning a trip to see the Tuskegee Airmen Museum this Black History Month. We try to do one trip during that month, and then we spread it out over the course of the year. I'm a big Muhammad Ali fan, and we want to go to Louisville to check out his museum there. And there's so many more. But the whole thing is, it's not why, it's that we all need to get out and experience this, because we've done a lot of Black history, but we've also been in Boston and been to the bridge where the first shots of the Revolutionary War were shot. We've been in the spot where the Boston Tea Party started. And we're teaching American history and African American history. And you can't teach
American history
one without the
is
other.
American history.
Yeah, you can't teach one without the other. And hey, I understand schools are overloaded, and this is not a school critique.
And don't even get into that.
You gotta, for us, it's important for us to balance it out. I think it's important for all Americans to learn about it. We're studying, or we want to study more Native American history. I forgot the museum when we were in the Smoky Mountains, and we were staying at the Cherokee KOA. We went to that Indian museum. which talked about the Trail of Tears, where it started and all that, and we want to do more of that. So again, it's not just African American history. This is Black History Month, so we're going to focus on that now. But as Americans, we need to understand the entire history of this country. White, Black, Native American, you name it. Because that's what makes up America.
That's right. That's right.
You know, so, what else, honey? I was going to try to see if I can get some questions. Does anybody have a question while we got you here?
Questions or even any recommendations or places that we should visit?
And
where have you been that you've enjoyed?
And if you're not on here right now and you're watching, send us a message. Tell us, hey, if you have any questions about where we've been. I mean, we've been through a couple of the places that we visited. We probably could do this for 2 hours.
We should have had the kids come and tell their favorite spot.
Well, we should. Next time, we'll definitely do that. But like I said, you mentioned off air that you want to go to Tulsa for Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
And we have a list of places we definitely want to go and check out. And that's all you got to do is, if you're in an area, check out what's close. If you're going to DC, we've given you a couple hints. You know Atlanta is filled with them. Yeah. Obviously, Alabama is filled with them. Mississippi, Little Rock, Virginia. We want to go to Harriet Tubman's site and her museum and see her walkthrough. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but it's important. I think it's important for all of us as Americans to understand each other and come together to understand the struggles of each and every race within this country border. So,
because with that understanding comes respect. So if we can just live alongside one another and respect each other and respect our differences, we'll get along. We'll get along further, you know, to the benefit of this country.
Yeah, we definitely will. So we don't want to inundate you with more. We have sheets of where we've been. We want to invite you to follow us. We're Soulful RV Family, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter. We have our blog, soulfulrvfamily.com. Obviously, we partner with Go RV and write blogs and do marketing for them because they are fantastic in their promotion of going RVing and getting out there and those kind of things. So we're proud to be part of that family, and that goes back to the inclusion of RVing and camping. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us, reach out to Go RVing, make comments. And you know, we've been talking about this. I don't know if you guys would like to, but we'd like to do a civil rights trip, like an RV trip. We could plan it, different stops, and see these things together. If you guys are interested, let us know. Maybe we'll put together a nice trip. We'll invite Go RVing to be part of it, and we can experience this together. And then we can imagine this after going to Selma and experiencing the bridge walking. We're around the campfire that night, having marshmallows or hot chocolate or a drink or whatever, and we're discussing it. We're talking about it. We're sharing our life experiences. I think there's things that we can learn from you and your life experiences, and I promise you there's things you can learn from us and our life experiences. So just another opportunity for all of us to get together and do what we love doing, and that's going RVing.
Thank you all for joining us and having this discussion with us. Like I said, or like he said, let's take this dialogue further. Please message us. We'd love to discuss and just see where you've been, where you would like for us to go. Share the information.
Can I leave everybody with one challenge? And we try to do this in our own family. We do vision boards every year with the kids and ourselves. It's Black History Month. This month, take an hour, take 2 hours, whatever, and just learn something about Black history. That's all. Learn something you didn't know. And I don't mean necessarily about Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks. Learn something about somebody that you didn't know. A Black inventor, a Black billionaire, whatever it is. I think you'll be surprised. It'll enlighten you and might give you just a little bit more insight as somebody that you don't necessarily interact with every day. But I think that's it for now, guys. Thank you so much, Go RVing, again, for allowing us to spend this time on your Facebook Live page. Thank you for everybody tuning in. We wish everybody an outstanding Black History Month.
Yes.
And we will definitely see you soon. Don't forget, Soulful RV Family, contact us with any questions, comments. We'd love to share and be your friend. And if you see us at the campground, make sure you come say hi.
Say hi.
Even at the gas station, come say hi.
Until then, safe travels.
Bye, guys.
Bye.